I enjoy watching.
Not any trouble at all.
Anyway, I want to make sure I said
You
good, Howard, or a little okay.
Hey, Lord.
Take a break.
Enthusiasm is good for our meetings. All these most people we've had.
I think I am. I think I am.
That's water. I'll take a water just in case.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm Peter, right?
Yeah, we're just trying to have too much fun. I have to learn all these names.
Have fun the last time I saw you. Whereas me, I always have fun.
My daughter gave me a cane about 2 weeks ago, and I never remember to bring it with me.
So am I going to get like a working from
Yeah, you get good. He was on the board. Did you see that? You afraid we wouldn't have enough to eat tonight?
I don't care. I don't think you care either.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott.
I keep thinking, well, I'm not old enough to use a cane, but then I see other people hopping around. Better shape than I am.
Well, no, the treasurer doesn't have to be a member of the subcommittee. But I'm not going to be treasurer for very long. I've done it for 5 years now.
I don't see anybody out from my scalp.
Then they have to leave.
See that me?
The microphone.
Yeah, how are you? Hello there, how are you doing? I'm Peter, how are you doing? Okay, good, good. How's the phone? Good? Very hot.
That's all right, no problem.
I say, how are you? Don't be too honest.
Yeah. I say, well, I usually say I'm here, and that just covers everything.
2 years and 3 months.
How true.
My daughter didn't want to come in. You saw all the people like.
I may be at the beach with I got to figure it out. Okay. About it as well.
Good evening, everyone. And welcome to the July 21st, 2020 first meeting in 2 years and 3 months of the Baltimore County Planning Board in person. We are so grateful to see you all. Thank you all for coming. And I just want to thank my colleagues that are here with me this evening. I'm Nancy Hafford. I'm the chair of the Planning Board. And I'm going to introduce our board members, starting from Mr. Schweitzer over there.
Bob Schweitzer, 7th Councilmanic District.
Peter Arrays, 6th District.
Deb German, 5th District.
Scott Olupka, county exec appointment.
Kathy Wolfson, 4th District.
Wayne McGinnis, 3rd.
Mark Heckman, 2nd District.
Henry Caligari, county executive appointment. Howard Perlow, county executive appointment.
Thank you all. And would you all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And will my board members please turn off your mics there if you're not speaking, red, and then if you need to speak, then you turn them on and it'll be white. Ms. Tracy, is there any changes to the tentative agenda as published?
Madam Chair, no changes to the agenda.
Thank you so much. In the July 12th email, you received draft minutes from the June 16th, 2022 meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the draft minutes? Anyone have any corrections? If not, can I entertain the motion to accept the minutes as circulated?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all so much. First on the agenda, we have a presentation by the Baltimore County Department of Public Works and Transportation, led by Mr. Richard Keller, on the new facility amendment to the Solid Waste Management Plan, Daniels Sharpsmart, Inc., 1201 6th Street, Rosedale, 21237, Medical Waste. After Mr. Keller finishes his introduction, I will call for a motion to set a public hearing on the subject matter. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Keller to fill us in on the new facility amendment solid waste management plan, Daniels Smart Shop, Inc., 1201 6th Street, Rosedale, 21237. Mr. Keller.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
It is good to see you all too. I've seen you a number of times on Zoom or whatever we're using, but it's nice to see folks in person, and particularly some folks that I haven't seen in a while. So this is at least my third time coming before the planning board with an amendment to the 10-year solid waste plan. The first time, you may recall, a couple of years back, we did an amendment about recycling in buildings over 150,000 square feet. The last time I was before the planning board was about the Eagle transfer station project. And today I am here about the Daniel Sharp Smart Amendment to the 10-year solid waste plan. Just as a reminder, my purpose today is basically to introduce the project and to ask for the public hearing, which I understand is set for September 1st, or will be set for September 1st. This is a project that actually is an existing project in the city of Baltimore, and they are planning to move to Baltimore County. It is a privately financed transportation processing and treatment facility for medical waste. They clean up various kinds of medical waste items, and then they distribute them back to healthcare facilities. Treated material transported to an off-site to a permanent facility. And we are asking for we're proposing the amendment as part of Section 9503C of the Environmental Article, Annotated Code of Maryland. And so we are asking for a public hearing on the project. In addition to the program to include this as part of the 10-year solid waste plan, the Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability has requested a joint hearing on the proposal. We have discussed that with staff. Their role will be to listen to public comments, answer any questions pertaining to the application. They'll make a brief statement at the beginning of the public hearing to clarify that the hearing is intended to meet the requirements of 12.4.302 of the county code. So basically what we're trying to do is have the two hearings together so that we don't have to have two separate hearings there. So that is the purpose of it. With that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I'll pass it on for the vote on the public hearing.
For a facility of this type, are there by regulation, whether monthly or yearly or periodic inspections?
I don't know the answer to your question. I will research that and send a note back to the board with an answer to that.
Yeah, like NDE
I understand.
Or like that, do an inspection.
I understand your question, and I will get back to you with the specifics.
Any other questions? If not, can I entertain a motion?
Be it moved that the Baltimore County Planning Board set a public hearing regarding the new facility amendment to the 10-year solid waste management plan for Thursday, September 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Turn it off. Thank you. Mrs. Bensley will now fill us in on the report for the July 14, 2022 meeting of the Landmark Preservation Commission. Ms. Bensley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At their July 14th, 2022 meeting, the Landmarks Preservation Commission voted to issue 6 certificates of appropriateness for the following properties: the Edelin property at 1909 Moncton Road in Moncton, the Russell property at 333 West Seminary Avenue in Lutherville, the Rutkowski property at 903 Adana Road in Sudbrook Park, the Beverly property at 16202 Corbett Village Lane in Moncton, Ashland Public School, the Tide property at 200 Ashland Road, the Hereford High School barn, which is owned by Baltimore County Board of Education, located at 17301 York Road, Parkton. Additionally, the commission voted to add 1 structure to the preliminary landmarks list, and that is Oak Grove and Setting, located at 1822 Frederick Road in Catonsville. And that concludes the report.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bensley. Now, Ms. Tracy, before I introduce you, to talk about legislation. Thank you for your service here at the Baltimore County Planning Board. You have been amazing to work with through the most challenging times. Ms. Tracy's going to escape to the beach. So we're so very, very grateful. This is your last meeting, and we're very, very thankful for your service here and all you've done for all of us.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So right now, Ms. Tracy will fill us in on legislation recently passed by the County Council following our last meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Recent county legislation. Bill 41-22, Notification of Development Fee Waiver for Government-Funded Qualifying Projects. For the purpose of notifying the County Council of request for waiver of development fees, providing for the definition of fee waiver, providing certain criteria for consideration of a request for fee waiver. Next, Bill 47-22, Zoning Regulations. Uses permitted in the business major zone. For the purpose of permitting used automobiles in adjoining outdoor sales area under certain circumstances in a business major BM zone, and generally relating to uses in the BM zone. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy. Well, this concludes our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we are going to reconvene for a public hearing at 5 o'clock.
Now, are you going to do public comment after each presentation, or will you do? I think there's a chance for after public comes after all 4 presentations. Okay, all right, that's good. But some people will maybe want to comment. Okay.
Good evening. We're going to be starting in 1 minute. So could everybody get a seat or get wherever you're standing? Thank you. Good evening again, and welcome to the Baltimore County Planning Board public hearing for the Cycle 40 Water Supply and Sewer Management Plan amendments. The public hearing is now called to order. My name is Nancy Hafford. I'm the chair of the Baltimore County Planning Board, and I'm now going to let my colleagues introduce themselves. Howard, do you want to start over there?
Howard Perlow. Calgary.
Mark Heckman, 2nd District.
Wayne McGinnis, 3rd.
Kathy Wolfson, 4th District.
Scott Lupta, executive appointment.
Steve Heinel, executive appointment.
Deb German, District 5.
Peter Array, District 6.
Bob Schweitzer, District 7.
Thank you all. At the Baltimore County Planning Board meeting on June 16th, 2022, Mrs. Erin McKenna Straley, PE Chief, Water Design, Baltimore County Department of Public Works and Transportation, introduced the Cycle 40 Water Supply and Sewage Management Plan amendments. Mrs. McKenna Straley is here to further present the Cycle 40 Water Supply and Sewage Master Plan amendments to the board. Following Ms. McKenna Straley's presentation, members of the public will have an opportunity to speak on this issue. Please welcome me and for Mrs. McKenna Straley. Sorry, I stumbled there. La, la, la.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. As Chairwoman Nancy said, I'm Erin McKenna Straley, Water Design Section with DPWT, and I'm here to present the annual water supply and sewer plan amendments for Cycle 40. Oh, do I not have a mic up here?
It's down here. It just doesn't reach.
Okay. Try and scoot over a little bit. I'll try to project a little bit more. So we received 5 petitions this cycle as shown on the public notice. The public notice was posted in the Jeffersonian and the Daily Record, as well as on DPWT's website in compliance with the executive order governing the annual amendment process. Petition 22-05 for 633 Earls Road, Lafarge Quarry, was withdrawn on June 28, 2022, after it was included in the staff report and introduced to the Planning Board on June 16th. The petition was also included in Cycle 39. It was approved by the Planning Board on September 23, 2021, and by the County Council at their June 6, 2022 meeting. The petition is under review by the state right now. Go to the next slide. So this, again, is just a review of...
Having a hard time hearing that.
Sorry. Can I pick this up, I guess? Okay. Do you want to sit here? Do you want to sit here? Okay. Sorry. Or do you want to sit here? Whatever's easier for you all. Go for it.
Got to be both.
Better? Okay. Thank you. So again, up on the screen right now is just a review of the different definitions for the different map designations for the county. I'm happy to go over them, but if everyone's familiar, then we can move on. Oh, can't hear? Okay. So W1 is the existing service areas, W3, S3, capital facilities areas, W4, S4, study areas, W5, S5, master plan areas, W5, S5X, master plan areas, W6, S6, areas of future consideration, and W7 or S7, no planned community or multi-use service. Go to the next one. Oh, do I have the mouse now? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I can provide them to the planning board.
We took questions till later, and if everybody would not speak when she's speaking, I think it will help everyone hear a little bit better. Thank you.
All right, first, thank you. Amendment 22-01 is Todd's Inheritance Historic Site at 9000 North Point Road in Edgemere. The property is inside the Metropolitan District and inside the Erdl. The current map designations are W5S5, which are master plan areas. The petitioner is requesting a change to W1 existing service area and S3 capital facilities area. The petitioner currently has water service in need of upgrades in addition to portable restrooms on site. The petitioner would like to upgrade the restroom facilities with indoor plumbing for health and environmental reasons for staff and visitors. Staff recommendations are as follows. EPS has no objection to the requested change. Planning supports the requested change. DPWT is recommending map designation changes of W1 S3 due to the site having existing water. Next slide. skipped. Okay. Amendment 22-02 is the CP Crane generating site at 1021 Carroll Island Road in Middle River. The property is inside the Metropolitan District and outside the Erdel. The current map designations are W7S7, no planned community or multi-use service. The petitioner is requesting changes to W1S1 existing service areas and an adjustment to the Erdel. The petitioner currently has water and sewer service to some of the parcels in the petition. The petitioner is requesting map designation changes due to the property being designated as an intensely developed area in the Chesapeake Bay critical area and due to substantial changes in the character of the neighborhood and a danger to public health. The details of the health issue were not disclosed in the letter accompanying the petition, nor any future intended use of the property. Staff recommendations are as follows. EPS has no objection to providing water and sewer to the plant in parcels 140 and 141. Planning is not recommending a change to the map designations. DPWT is recommending a map designation change to W1S1 to those parcels with water and sewer service, and map designation changes to W3S3 to those without current service due to the properties being located inside the Metropolitan District boundary. Next slide. Amendment 22-03 is the Rocky Point Golf Course at 1936 Back River Neck Road in Essex. The property is inside the Metropolitan District and outside the Erdel. The current map designations are W7S7, no planned community or multi-use service. The petitioner is requesting map designation changes to W3S3 capital facilities areas and an adjustment to the Erdel. The petitioner currently has private wells and a reported failing seepage septic system. At the time of submission, the petitioner is requesting map designation changes and an extension of the Erdel based on substantial changes to the neighborhood and a danger to public health, and will reduce nitrogen discharges to the Chesapeake Bay. The proposed use of the facility is an expansion of the original clubhouse to include a commercial-grade kitchen, small 24 to 30 seats, a grill for golf patrons, and construct a 180-seat enclosed and conditioned structure that would allow food and beverage service to our golf outing customers and other community groups. Staff recommendations are as follows. EPS has no objection to providing water and sewer to the existing facilities at the park and golf course. Planning is recommending a change of W3S3. Other parcels and properties within with development potential should be precluded from connecting. DPWT is recommending a map designation change to W3S3. The Erdel adjustment is deferred to planning. All right, and the last one, Amendment 22-04 is the Eastern Sanitary Landfill, ESL, at 6259 Days Cove Road in White Marsh. The parcels included in the petition are inside the Metropolitan District and inside and outside of the Erdel. The current map designations are W3S3 Capital Facilities Area. No map designation changes are being requested, but the petitioner is requesting an Erdel exemption. The petitioner currently has a private well in connection to the public sewer system. The petitioner is requesting an Erdel exemption for health and safety of the employees at the facility. On-site drinking water is currently provided by bottle. Non-potable water is used in the emergency shower and restrooms. Low levels of mercury and coliform have been detected in well water. The Bureau of Solid Waste Management is also concerned about adequate fire protection since portions of the facility rely on tanker trucks. Staff recommendations are as follows. EPS is recommending approval of the requested change. Planning is recommended an approval of an Erdel exemption. DPWT is deferring the Erdel exemption to planning. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Question why are we opening it up to whole 400 acres? Yeah, the water is lower. I think it's violating the Earl versus most golf courses are 25 acres.
A golf course in a little bit. You can ask that question if Mrs. Straley doesn't have that answer.
No, I don't. That wasn't provided in their petition.
A process question, I guess. Is expanding the ERDL a requirement to change the water and sewer designation to even the W3?
No, the ERDL plays more into effect with MDE when the amendments go into the final phase of approval. So the ERDL, whether it's inside or outside, is more of a planning decision, but you can have different map designations inside, outside of the ERDL.
We could consider the request without the ERDL expansion.
You could, but it's unlikely to pass the state without the ERDL being moved.
Mr. Heckman, if I may, we are, because water and sewer service is a factor in whether or not to expand the ERDL, we have made a decision to take up the ERDL expansion or ERDL changes that a couple of petitioners have requested until after the public vote, after the planning board vote on September 1st. So the ERDL expansion is not before you specifically today.
Okay, well, that's good to know because it makes it approving.
The only one that, no, we're not taking up the ERDL issues today, except with the exception requested for Eastern Sanitary Landfill. So it's an exception to the ERDL limitation, not whether or not the ERDL itself would be moved.
So will the board have an opportunity to weigh in on the expansion of the ERDL?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions from my board members?
ERDL also has to be approved by the city or not the policy?
The ERDL, moving the ERDL line is left up to the local jurisdiction, so it'd be up to Baltimore County. And then that, that's different, yeah. And they're not requesting, I don't believe anybody's asking the Metropolitan District line to be expanded. I don't think that's part of the petitions.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna-Straley.
Good
job on the presentation. We will now allow petitioners to give a brief presentation on their request. If you'd like, please remember to limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Petition 22-01-900 North Point Road, Mr. Fran Taylor.
Just like these two.
Should we go forward or back? Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Bensley, are you watching the clock since we can't see it?
Lucy's going to do it for us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, hi. Thank you for the opportunity to address the crowd and to address the planning board tonight. My name is Fran Taylor. I'm Vice President at Todd's Inheritance Historic Site. We're located along the Star Spangled Banner National Historic Trail on North Point in southeast Baltimore County. Let's see. There we go. We're a National Historic Landmark. This is our road sign, pretty much explains the history of the house and the significance of that. The house was purchased by DNR from a private concern back in the late 80s. It's 4 acres that we have a lease for. We're responsible for water, stabilization, renovation, sewage, all the inside and outside maintenance. This is an older picture of the house that you see. It was in pretty much disrepair. When stabilization efforts were underway about 15 years ago, the porches were removed. The kitchen section of the house was actually jacked up. The foundation was rebuilt. So there's really been extensive work there over the years. We were able to, this is a more recent picture of the house. We were able to open in 2017 as a museum and as an interpretive site for visitors. Let's see. We're all volunteers. We wear many hats to keep the house in operation. This is one of our painter volunteer who also happens to be our Native American expert. It's one of our exhibits that we have. We have Native American artifacts from the peninsula dating back 9,000 years, and it's quite an extensive collection. We're open like I said, we're open one weekend a month. We average this on a Saturday and Sunday for about 4 hours. We have about 100 visitors and volunteers are there every weekend. So over the 5 years, you see that's quite a few people have come through. We also offer private tours. So while I'm at it, I'll extend that invitation to this group. If you ever personally or collectively want to see the house, we're more than happy to show it to you at any time. You can see we have different events. So people come in and they congregate and they'll go out to the porches, go out to the lawns. We have a great partnership with the Scouts. Several of our projects we've had have been Eagle Scouts. We probably have had 5 in the last 5 years, all the way from building renovation to gardens, things along those lines. We partner with community groups. This is a day after Thanksgiving hike we do every year. We call it the Black Friday Marsh March, and then we go back to Todd's. We open the house up to people who participate in that, and we have light refreshments. Here's one of the things we do. We partner with Fort McHenry. That's retired Ranger Scott Sheeds giving a talk on the War of 1812, and then they've actually given us one of the big flags to unfold. So we need 30 or 40 people when we do that. But it really is something that we all look forward to, and the kids just love it. Here's just some more of the interior things we do. So we partner with different communities in the area. We do lectures every month. We have a different speaker, and it can be on local history, Bayshore Park, Red Rocket. We can do Todd family history. It just varies. We really have a very good collection of speakers. War of 1812 reenactors. I mean, that's where the British landed. That's where they congregated before their march on Baltimore in the War of 1812 in September of 1814. The farm is actually where they staged before that march. And the guy with the hat on the upper right-hand corner is a Todd family member who lives on Eastern Shore, comes back, and he talks to people, and we have quite a few of those who come back. And you might look at this and say, what is that? Well, that's water. My gosh, we didn't have water for the first couple years we were there. We had a well, a pump handle well in the corner of the yard, probably 50 yards from the house, and we had Eagle Scout projects. And one thing we didn't think about were how are we going to water things? So we ended up using 5-gallon Deer Park jugs and using water from the well. We had a contractor, an HVAC contractor, says, hey, there's a water line under here. Do you want us to hook it up? Well, so now we at least have water for a hose. We can at least water. These are the existing bathrooms that we have. Neither are hooked up. The plumbing is totally disconnected, and that's mainly because the septic failed and there's nowhere for the water to go, for the wastewater to go. These are our current facilities. It's a spotted pot behind the privacy fence. We tried to give it a little humor. We had to do a his and hers, and they don't know until they get back there. There's only one. Through the years, the last 5 years, we have dignitaries come to the house. This is the Lieutenant Governor was here last year. Until COVID, we had our masks on. But it's kind of embarrassing when they say, can we use the facilities? And we say, we have a spotted pot. And next thing you know, they're booking up the road to somewhere else to use the bathroom. So, I mean, it really is something that we have to get indoor plumbing for the health of our volunteers and our visitors. And we thank you. All of the volunteers thank you. And again, we invite everybody, please come visit us. We're 9000 North Point Road, and we're open once a month. Our schedule's on Facebook, so please. Thank you all.
So much, Mr.
Thank
Taylor.
you. We really appreciate your consideration in this for us. Yep.
Does anyone have a question for Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
I really admire what you do. It's sharing that history, I realize, is very, very important. But on the other hand, I do live on well and septic. And if my septic failed, I'd have to get a new septic system. So first of all, who pays to extend the water and sewage line to your facility?
So we back in 2006, before my time with the group, I think the county actually worked with the volunteers and did a study on what it would cost to hook water and sewer up, and it was really, really expensive. And I think that's probably why that didn't happen during the stabilization of the house. So right now we have, and I'm going to throw a figure out, about $27,000 for renovation of water and the bathroom facilities and sewer. So all that would be included in that bucket of money. How far that would go, I'm not sure. But we fundraise. We have, like I said, we have partnerships with DNR. We're hoping that the state could come up with some money to help us replace the failed septic system. We know there's programs out there for that. But basically we're volunteers. We try to save every penny we can. We just got a shed and a new lawnmower, so it was costing us $4,000 a year to get the grass cut, so we're doing that ourselves now. But we raised, I would say, almost $20,000 for that. So we'll basically be fundraising ourselves privately and going out to the different agencies.
Thank you. Does anybody from the county know how much that would cost? Okay. And last, is the water drinkable that is in the house?
The water that's going to the spigot outside comes right from the meter. It's maybe,
so that's meter.
Maybe
water.
yeah,
okay.
maybe 20 feet off the meter.
Okay.
Oh, the well water is not drinkable. It's disgusting.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott.
Fran, I guess the other part you didn't mention is that the farmhouse is right on the water. I mean, part of the reason the septic system is failing is it's a marshy. I don't think you could even put in a new septic system.
I was told, so I volunteer with some port committees and we have some county DEPS people on it, and informally I asked them a few years ago about it, and they said we would have a really hard time replacing our septic. So then I was happy to see this program, that this was available. At least we're getting started on it, and we have to have sewer and water at some point, but like I say, we really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to at least get this out on the table and get started.
Any other questions, Mr. Schweitzer?
I just want to make a comment. Fran invited me down there to see Todd's inheritance back several months ago, November or something like that. And I went through and had my eyes open. It would be a shame for Baltimore County to let this site depreciate because of septic issues and so forth. It is an amazing piece of work that the volunteers have put together and a part of history that Baltimore County deserves to see. Baltimore County citizens need to see, and a lot of people don't know about it.
No, they don't. That's our mission. That's our mission. Yeah. Thank you,
great work down there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schweitzer. Any other questions? Then thank you so much, Mr. Taylor, for coming tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Have a good evening. Petition 22-02-1021 Carroll Island Road, CP Crane Generation Station, Mr. Jason Vittori.
Actually, Ryan Ford. Jason's our attorney. So nice to meet everybody and really appreciate the time and the opportunity to present. If we could go to the next slide. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. So just as an introduction, Foresight's not from Baltimore County. We're a national firm and we specialize in purchasing, acquiring, and remediating industrial facilities. One of those specialties involves coal-fired power plants. So we're one of 3 or 4 firms in the country that purchases these to completely clean them up, working with the state to no further action. And then we look to redevelopment. And we often work with the local communities to kind of figure out what is needed. If you could go to the next slide. Oh, I've got the controller. So our business model, again, acquire the real estate and assume the environmental cleanup responsibilities. So on coal-fired power plants, that often involves the asbestos that's within the building, which is typically several $1 million, and then remediation of all the recognized environmental conditions on site. That can range from the coal yard to coal ash, if it happens to exist on the site, to underground storage tanks and the like. So our goal is to clean up the sites and then put them back into productive use for the community. Next slide. So CP Crane is why we're here today. We acquired this site in September of 2021, and we've since removed all the asbestos from the facility and all of the universal waste, and we're currently in stages of demolishing the plant. We have had some issues. It's a very technical demolition. We had a dust issue, and working with the local community to make sure everyone's house and boats and furniture are cleaned up. And so hoping to get some goodwill there. We've engaged MDE, the Maryland Department of Environment, from the start, and worked with them to come up with a phase 2 testing plan. So we essentially test all of the areas that they want us to test to make sure that when we come up with a remediation plan, we clean up the site to whatever standard is necessary based on the redevelopment. And we've committed to the community to clean up the site regardless of the outcome of our redevelopment. We're currently estimating it's going to cost about $4 million to clean up based on the phase 1 environmental site assessment that we have in hand. So we've engaged the community, and initially, we're industrial redevelopers, so we typically take industrial and put it back as industrial. But industrial was not something that the community was interested in right away. So our next idea was residential. I don't want to say that I've got community buy-in or anything like that, but that is currently what we're talking to the communities about to determine if there is some compromise on the number of units. And so we're attempting to address the concerns. Some of the concepts that we've been given are more of an inner harbor concept, somewhat off of the water. Most folks want open spaces close to the water. Traffic and parking are big concerns, and walking trails are something that's been an ask. So since we came up with our initial plan on the redevelopment, we had reduced the density by 40%, provided over 90 acres of open space, walking trails, and addressed some of the other issues. Next slide, please. So this is why we're here today, asking for the water and sewer amendment. We feel like it's a reasonable ask because we have existing water and sewer on the plant. Obviously, there was around 300 so people working there at its peak, which was served by water and sewer. There's process needs for water and sewer, both. And so this site has a long history of water and sewer. And so we're asking that the W7, S7 designation gets updated to the W1, S1, W3, S3. The current zoning, RC5 and RC20, would allow septic fields and septic tanks. And this site being within the critical Chesapeake Bay watershed, we didn't feel like that was appropriate. Obviously, with our relationships with the MDE, we have had that conversation, and they're not too keen on this septic system being within the critical watershed. And they've said, as long as the sewage treatment plant can handle it, they would prefer they would prefer county water, county sewer. So generally, we want to redevelop this. Obviously, we're not we're not a charity, so we do want to make some money here, and so we are attempting to change the designation in order to do that, and think that there's some give or take with the community that we can continue to negotiate. Thank you. I'm out of time, and I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Does any of my board members have any questions at the time?
So just to be clear, you're proposing to increase the density by nearly 4 times?
4 times?
75?
Yes, about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ford. Petition 22-03-1935, Back River Neck Road, Rocky Point Golf Course. Mr. Peter Soprano, followed by Mr. Ken Mills.
Actually, Peter is out. His wife was induced yesterday, so he's not able to be with us today. Everything's good from what I've heard. We've got members of the team, though, that are here to support us and answer any questions if they should come up. It's just up and down. Okay. So again, thank you very much for hearing our request today for water and sewer connection. At Rocky Point Golf Course, going to Mr. Perlow's question just from the outset, the Rocky Point Golf Course was built in 1971. The golf course constitutes about 165 acres of the nearly 400 acres that are there that are part of the Rocky Point Park. The property essentially was subdivided. The Revenue Authority assumed management of the course. It was originally, as all the county courses were run by the county Rec and Parks Department. We took over that operation in the 90s, and we have a 75-year lease to run the golf courses. The Revenue Authority operates the courses basically on a self-supporting basis. We receive no annual operating funds from the county. We do get contributions from the county for capital dollars because generally we're working with our landlord, if you will, when we're doing capital improvements on the project. We are on a private well and septic system. The system is located on the course, and I have backup data which was submitted and is a part of your packets. I won't go there today in the interest of time, but we are within 1,000 feet of the back river and Longs Creek. We are located in the Chesapeake Bay critical areas. So there's a concern when we started talking about expansion of the clubhouse, and this is an area map just to give you a point of reference for those that may not know exactly where Rocky Point is in the general county. But when we started several years ago to talk about the idea of doing renovations to that 1971 building, now about 51 years old, it's tired and needs some love. One of the things we looked at right now when we run events, we have a tent, a seasonal tent that we erect in the spring and take down in the fall for our outings. All of the food and beverage are catered by outside businesses. We do about 40,000 rounds a year at the golf course. It's our second biggest course, busiest course within the system. Our goal was to try to improve the customer experience, to improve the building, bring it up to some reasonable standard, and also improve the experience by having the commercial kitchen, and their plans deep in this, again, that are available and were in your packet. We were going to put in a commercial kitchen that would allow us to do the food and beverage operation for the outings, and then other activities we may be doing throughout the year. A small grill area. We're not going to build a bar. We're not going to try to create a restaurant destination. It really is focused on serving the golf community and the community to some extent at large by having a conditioned space that could be used during the season and off-peak times for the golf course. We began as a part of our building consideration assessing our existing system. We brought on Site Resources, which is a county-based civil engineering firm. They also hired Barton and Logadis to work with them. They're hydrogeologists to help us really determine the condition of our existing system. And what we found, like a lot of things built over 50 years ago, what was on the plans wasn't built quite like that. And we're in a situation where it took us several weeks, even in the time from our first submission to now, to effectively determine that the septic system is failing. It is manageable, it is operational, but it is failing and non-conforming because the county does not approve seepage pit septic systems anymore on their projects. We had basically three options: to repair, provided we can do repairs to the existing system, which is failing, to possibly build a new septic field, or get the connection to the public water and sewer. There is public water and sewer coming down Back River Neck Road that serves Riverview, the homes in that area, up off of Bay Avenue. It's been, that service was provided over the last 20 years, basically in an effort on the part of the state and the county to address the concerns about critical areas and nitrogen contribution to the bay and the waterways. We're looking at the cost of water and sewer connection versus doing the septic improvements. We're still in process with analyzing it. Neither one is inexpensive. Clearly, the water and sewer connection, Marshall, last sentence, the the water and sewer connection would provide us with, address a public health concern of operating a failing system and also preserve and improve the conditions of the Chesapeake Bay in the long term. So, thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Board members? Mr. Perlow?
And my question that you answered, I think at the end, I don't think that it's 400 acres, 165 acres on the golf course. Does the entire acreage need to be added to the URL?
Well, the reason it could, in concept, be limited, actually, and let me bounce through here for you. We can make it out. It could be limited to the golf course. The service that we're looking to bring in is only for the golf course at this time. The reason we ask is because the county owns the entire property. And it was the idea that if we got the connection into the larger property, then at some point, if Recon Parks or the county wants to do any other public facilities, at least the existence of the public water and sewer would create a precedent for future connections. And yet, as Mr. Lafferty noted, the connections that we're looking and considering in this would only really serve the clubhouse and the project right now. Well, we're doing it off our private well system right now. The wells are healthy there. Again, proximity to the bay. We've got a pretty ample water supply that is in the wells right now, and so there's no plan to expand and add our irrigation systems to public water.
I guess my concern is, for 12, 13 years, we've been pretty reticent to limit expanding the area. There might be discussion someplace in the future, but here we are talking about the county controls all the decisions. To do that on the 400 acres concerns me. Once we've approved it and it's been added to the URL, the county can go back and do whatever they might want to do to it.
Yep.
You tell developers and other people that you can't do it because they're trying to control growth at that point. And if you do it for the, I think it probably makes sense to do it for the, you can allow them to enlarge the clubhouse without the course. But I don't think you need to do it on 400 acres. They minor changes on the hurdle around the hurdle line throughout the county. That would make sense. 600 feet, square feet, maybe a quarter of an acre, there's things that you need to make this work, but not with a major 400 acres. So I personally have a concern doing all of it. If you have the need now, the county wants to come back someday and present to this planning board something else they want to have.
Thank you, Mr. Perlow.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. I am a little conflicted because, you're bringing up the septic system.
Yes.
But isn't it well known that golf courses add a lot of nutrients to the soil to keep the course fertilized and green? Do you have a capture system for those nutrients that are bordering the bay?
Well, again, I think the current technology and our records and our distribution, our use of fertilizers and other nutrients, if you will, chemical nutrients, is closely monitored by MDE every year. We dramatically reduced the amount of chemicals used for keeping the golf course healthy and green and the like. It is a condition of operating a golf course. I think one of the things that putting this on public water and sewer is going to dramatically reduce the contribution that comes from our septic system. Golf courses do and are treated with chemicals. There's no denying that. I think we are good stewards of that effort, and whether or not providing additional records, I'm sure if we get to that point with MDE, They have the records, they have the information on what we're doing, and we're very careful about the management and judicious use of chemicals on our courses.
And so far as watering the courses, would you be using the public water or would you be
well water?
You would be using your existing well water.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will say, Mr. Perlow and I don't often agree, but I do seriously share his concern about extending the Erdel to 400 acres.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfson. Any other questions for Mr. Mills? If not, thank you, Mr. Mills.
All right, thank you very much.
Petition 22-04-6259, Days Cove Road, Eastern Sanitary Fill. This is McKenna Straley. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this point? That will be emailed to our board members. Thank you so much. This concludes our presentations regarding the individual petitions. Next, Mrs. Bensley will call on those of you who have completed the sign-in sheet located in the front of the Jefferson Building lobby today to speak on this topic in order that you registered. Speakers, please remember to keep your comments to 2 minutes or less. Provide your name and the organization you represent and the petition issue that you are addressing. If you are representing a whole community, please let us know and we'll give you a little extra time as long as no one else from your community is speaking on that matter. Thank you very much. Ms. Bensley, do you have the first name?
First up, we have Councilman David Marks.
Thank you, Mr. Marks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Board. Thank you for your service. The Bowley's Quarters and Seneca Park communities include 6.1 square miles of land in eastern Baltimore County, about 14 miles east of Baltimore City. There are about 6,800 residents here as of 2010. The Charles P. Crane Generating Station is a coal-fired power plant that occupies 160 acres. Unit 1 was commissioned in 1961, Unit 2 in 1963. The plant ceased operations in 2018. As I campaigned throughout this area over the past year, I've been amazed by the intense feelings people have toward this land. Many people have their own stories about this property. Many voters view these smokestacks as a beacon to come home. But everyone I talk to feels the same way about this property. We need a very thoughtful and deliberative process as to its future. The people who live in Bowley's Quarters and Seneca Park are hardworking, engaged families who are intrinsically connected to the water, and they want to make sure that the decisions about this property are done right. You see dozens of them here tonight, and I appreciate all of them coming here. I urge you to give serious weight to the feelings they have about the future of this site, the concerns about quality of life, about traffic on the one route that serves this peninsula, and about how the unique character of this area will be impacted. I want to thank Foresight Development. Foresight has been a very engaged property owner. They've had many discussions with the community and they should be applauded for them. Those discussions should continue. I think the prevailing comment you're going to hear tonight is that the process is moving very, very fast. It's the same feelings that a lot of us had about the Lafarge property. Slow the process down. That concludes my comments. I want to thank you for listening to everyone who speaks tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Marks.
All right. Next up, we have Mr. Jim Hawk.
Good evening. I'm president of Bowley's Quarters Improvement Association. We've been working very close with Foresight, and we've also been working close with Essex Middle River Civic Council. I brought an email from both the president and vice president there that went to Pete and Tom Rafferty, letting them know that they feel the same as we do with the property. It's in the critical Bay area for one. It's zoned RC5 and RC20. It's outside the Erdel is what they're looking to develop, which we do not want to see happen, that Erdel line move. When Kathy Bevins first talked with Arnold Javelin on the property, she stated that it's not much you can do with that property. Have you purchased it or are you looking at it? They had already purchased it, and she said, you're going to have trouble developing it. There's one road in, one road out. It's overcrowded now. We've got failing intersections, so it will not work to bring stuff in there. You heard Ryan say he reduced it by 40%. The first attempt was 400 homes plus other things in there. That's not a reduction to reduce it to 285 when, as Ms. Wilson said, 75 is all that can be put in there. So we're not reducing it from 75 by 40%. We're reducing it from a dream number down to this is 40% off of that dream number. You can go in and say it's 1 million houses and reduce it by 40%. It's still not going to work. So that's what we want to have looked at. Yes, they've been very upfront. I can make a phone call or text, and I get a response right back from their CEO, from Ryan, and from Bill. The way that it's designed at RC5, as you well know, development would be very minimal. And that's what we would like to see, minimal development. Possibly, and we talked to Foresight and said at our last meeting that would it be something that the state or the federal government would be interested in? And if you look under the RC5 and the RC20, those conservation areas, it would be a good thing to make into a park, make into something there if they could afford to buy it to compensate somewhat for what they're going to spend on it. They spend a great deal. They've gotten a great deal out of the materials they've taken out of there as turning over to steel and the other things like that. But again, there's still costs that they can't recoup. So we're not trying to hurt them. We appreciate that they've been upfront with us, but our community does not want to see our waterfront destroyed. They're critical Bay Area. They can't build within 1,000 feet. If you looked at the picture up there, it was not a good picture. It was showing how many houses were in there, and there's no way. If you extend the water and sewer into there and move that Erdl line, they'll try, as the other group before them tried to do, to rezone that. They wanted to rezone it heavy manufacturing prior to that. We fought it. You were smart enough not to let it happen. So I appreciate your time. If you could, anybody from Police Quarters that was the Improvement Association, they would stand. You could see how many of our people are here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Spensley?
Next up, we have Shannon Stalling.
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Stallings. I'm coming at you twofold. Number one, as a community member of Bowley's Quarters, and number two, as the chief fire officer for the local volunteer fire company, which will service the area in which they're looking to make the changes. I have one statement based as a community member, and that is I believe that Bowley's Quarters is a wonderful place, and anyone who lives there should be able to potentially work, eat, sleep, and go to school in the community in which they live. Our elementary school is near capacity. In fact, we are in learning cottages as it is. I'm not a huge fan of having to redistrict just to accommodate people who move into the community. If people are going to move into a development, I think they should be accommodated like the rest of us. And the second thing I want to touch on is infrastructure. As a chief fire officer, I see, number one, I see the countless amount of money that the volunteer fire system saves the taxpayers annually by putting fire engines on the street and not having to pay salaries to do that. But I will tell you, our organization, for its age, is sustaining very well. I'm not sure how we could handle growth in emergency response. In addition to that, our strategic location, or our location of where our station currently sits, comparing the 280 homes to other areas of our district that have 280 homes, we could see up to an 8 to 12% increase in responses based off of the numbers. So my concern there is, how do we approach infrastructure if this progresses and if this moves forward? I know this is a hearing about planning and moving the Erdl and potentially building homes, but I really want to get up the point across of what does it affect beyond that. The councilman made note of a couple things, the community association leaders made note of a couple things, but infrastructure is where my concern is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stallings, and thank you for your service.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present my point of view. My name is Kathleen Kamen. I am a property owner that is actually adjacent to the CP Crane plant that involves my house and 2 additional houses. I am adamantly opposed to the extension of water and sewer to that area. It is a critical area, and as such, I think it should be preserved. As a community member for the past 60 years, I can tell you that I had to go through a special exception process that took me 2 years just to get a garage added to my house. When the plant was given permission to build there, it was for a special exemption for the greater good. That was the way they could get through the rural conservation. I propose that it stay that rural conservation area. It is true that we have not the infrastructure to support the amount of traffic. I don't have statistics, but I suspect that if you asked for statistics regarding the number of accidents on Carroll Island Road between Bowie's Quarters and Eastern Avenue and that initial stretch of Eastern Avenue, you'll be surprised at how many accidents there are now. Initially, that was 1 lane each way, and many years ago, it was extended to 2 lanes each way, and it is the only way in and out of that peninsula. And if something bad happens, it's absolute gridlock. In addition to that, we have a failing sewage system in Back River. How could that possibly support another 400 houses? There is still sewage going into Back River almost on a daily basis from what I hear. That's affecting all of our waterways to the point that I'm afraid to let my grandchildren be in Saltpeter Creek, which is where I live. It is also true that our schools are overcrowded. And I feel like Eastern Baltimore County has really been hit hard with development. Every place you look, there are housing developments going up. Look at 43, look at Ebenezer Road area. Is it going to be that the planning committee is not happy until every square inch of Baltimore County is developed into a house? That piece of property is a pristine piece of property, and it should be preserved as such for years to come. And my family has been there for 60 years.
Thank you, Ms. Kamen. We appreciate your comments.
Can I ask a quick question? Up here. Yes. I'm just curious. So,
turn your microphone on, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. The power plant operated up until 2018, 2019?
Correct.
How much traffic did it generate?
Very little.
I'm just curious. I just wanted to get a sense of.
Very little.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bensley.
Jeffrey comment?
My name's Jeffrey Kamen. I live at 1018 Carroll Island Road on a family farm that's been in my family since the 1930s when we started as tenant farmers. My children will be the 6th generation to grow up on the property. The 17 houses, our property is adjacent to Carroll Island Power Plant. There's 17 houses. Mine makes 18 in our neighborhood. We have never had public utilities. We were considered too small to have public utilities down there. The power plant has been a good neighbor. There is a fishing bridge. If you talk to anybody in Eastern Baltimore County, it's been a source of community for a very long time. We'll talk about that. The power plant has been, even though it's a dirty coal-fired power plant, they've been a good neighbor and very responsive. They provided jobs for our community and career jobs, not jobs that housing is going to create, which is going to be quick and gone, and the best you're going to get is maybe a lawn service or a maid. I don't see why extending water and sewer will bring any benefit to Bowley's Quarters whatsoever. The property doesn't need it. Right now, according to Maryland Department of Environment from 2010, they have over 100 wellheads with a permit of up to 140,000 gallons of water a day. If everybody in my neighborhood has upgraded septic tanks, thanks to the programs in Baltimore County, why can't these upgraded septic tanks put in a very few houses within the stipulations already provided in the county without any special exemptions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kamen.